This is a Sports Catastrophe production. Hey there, how there, ho there. It's Jeff Cutter Diamond welcoming you to another Sports Catastrophe on the State. And on this day, September the 27th, 1980, one of the most blood-curdling fights in history happened. It was Marvelous Marvin Hagler versus Alan Minter at Wembley Arena in 1980 for the middleweight championship, if memory serves me right. Yeah, he was the middleweight champion and all that. So anyway, Alan Minter was the middleweight champion. He took on Vito Antuofermo in March 1980 at Caesar's Palace and won by a split decision. The judges' scorecards varied wildly. The Venezuelan judge had Minter losing the fight. The British judge had Minter winning 13 rounds. And I don't know what the third judge was. What nationality that third judge was, but practically it was Minter and all that. And then in June, they actually fought in London between Vito and Minter. Minter TKO'd Vito in the 8th round, and it looked pretty good for the British legend, if you will. Marvelous Marvin Hagler, on the other hand, had a title shot against Vito at Caesar's Palace in November 1979. A lot of people thought that Hagler just snuck in and won in 15 rounds. Hagler was upset when Mills Lane, soon to be the man who officiated Tyson versus Holyfield when Holyfield lost chunks of his ear, and also a TV judge, told him he won, but Mills denied saying that. Anyway, a lot of people were shocked. Judge Dwayne Ford scored the fight in Hagler's favor by 4 points. However, Dalby Sherby scored the bout for Vito 144-142, and Hal Miller scored the fight even. So both fighters won. One of the three judges voted for them, and one was a tie. That meant it was a draw. Hagler did have the boxing skills and killer instinct to knock his opponent out, but he played it a little too safe, they said, and Vito closed the gap late in the fight. The worst part is there was no rematch for that, even though it was a draw. And then Adam Farrell's next title fight was against Minter, who he lost it to. So, Minter had the title, but Minter sportily decided to give Marvelous Marvin Hagler the chance at the belt at Wembley Arena. It was huge and all of that. And Minter actually said in pre-fight strategy, he said, quote, "No black man is going to take my title." But he meant that black man. Of course, you know, how racial tension and all that. If it was in the States, it would be a lot worse. Meanwhile, Hagler would take command of everything and all of that. So then, you know, that happened. And then in the third round, Minter, who was prone to cuts and all that, was getting cut hard. And referee Carlos Barrocal decided to halt the fight during the third round to have the 4 glaring cuts on Minter's face examined. Fortunately for you, the picture does not show the 4 cuts because that's kind of brutal. I really wanted the picture to be one of great importance. I'll get to that. But anyway, Barrocal said all that. And then Minter's managers conceded defeat. And Barrocal waved the bout off, saying that Minter could not continue. A riot broke out among the spectators. It was horrifying, of howls and boos, which is fine. But then Hagler and his trainers had to be escorted to the locker room by lots of policemen because of a steady rain of beer bottles and glasses. So Hagler was a world middleweight champion for the first time since his career started 7 years prior. So it was huge. Now, you're wondering, why am I doing this fight in particular? Well, chalk it up to the anthology series, Not So Great Moments in Sports. I watched those VCR tapes to death and all that. I know that they're on, at least the first two are on YouTube. I know that, Tim McCarver hosting the Not So Great Moments in Sports. The first two are on YouTube. The third part I can't find on YouTube, which sucks. Regardless of that, Marvis Hagler was the champion, finally getting his middleweight crown. Alan Minter faded into obscurity afterwards, in a sense. Hagler was a busy world champion. His next opponent would be Virginia Obamejas, knocked him out, and then Vito in the rematch. He TKO'd him in the 4th round. Hagler would fight those at the Boston Garden. Hagler would beat Mustafa Hamsho in the 11th round. Caveman Lee went down quickly. Obamejas lasted 5 rounds. Tony Simpson could not defeat Hagler. Hagler was a staple of HBO, and then he would face Roberto Duran. Duran was the light middleweight champion and moved up in weight to take on Hagler's crown. Unfortunately, though, Hagler won a unanimous 15-round decision. And then there would be more title defenses and all that. So Hagler would face Thomas Hearns. After more title defenses, Hagler faced Thomas Hearns in 1985, known as the War, because the first round was 3 minutes of violence. Practically, the first few rounds were heavy and all that. And the fight was stopped in the 3rd round, but it was 8 minutes of hectic action. And Hagler finally lost the middleweight crown after almost 5 years of having it. So Hagler, took the belt and held it for 5 years. Almost 5 years. That was pretty amazing what he could do. I mean, he was one of the best boxers in the 1980s. So soon be Sugar Ray Leonard fans. But anyway, thanks to that video series by Tim McCarver, I got to know about Hagler versus Hearns and the bloody, not sorry, Hearns, but the bloody Minter and all the violence and all that. It's weird, isn't it? Anyhow, I'm going to do.